What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday. First off, looking at myself in the camera, I think this beard has to go. It just, every time I try to grow it out, I'm like, maybe this time will be different. Maybe it'll grow in all nice and thick. And it just doesn't. So, um, anyways, but I wanted to make a really short video here on a specific topic that I do talk about a lot, but it's kind of top of mind because yesterday we had one of our group call with all of our coaches, and we were talking about different things. And one thing that kind of came up that comes up very often is you guys as clients and the women that we work with, they put so much pressure on themselves. They're so hard on themselves. They have very high standards. They think they should be perfect, and sometimes that can be a blessing or a curse, right? And the way that I look at it is I don't really believe it's a bad thing to be very, very hard on yourself. It only becomes bad when it leads to inaction, right? Because I do believe we have God-given character traits that can be our biggest weapon, our biggest asset if used correctly. It's just a tool, and then how you use that tool is what makes all the difference in the world. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong about wanting to be perfect and striving for excellence and having a higher bar for yourself than anybody else in your life and having a very high standard. I do not believe that that's bad at all. And many of you have that within you. That's who we tend to work with, and probably it's a mirror, right? Because a lot of you, and maybe your conversations with me, or if you spent any time with me in person, one thing from friends, from family, playing sports, when I was in the corporate world, a lot of people who are around me will say, Bo, you're harder on yourself than anybody I've ever met in my life. And what I found is that's not a bad thing. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. But there's been periods of my life where it leads to an action, then I would label it as bad, where I have paralysis by analysis, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I did this, I did that. Like, then I just don't want to do anything and just, numb my mind, or, just randomly be doom scrolling social media, not taking action because something, poor happened, or I'm beating myself up. That's when it becomes a bad thing. And it's the same for you guys as well, right? And like what we were kind of talking about with the coaches is like, you've had a great couple weeks, and then one weekend you had family in town, or you took a trip and you drank too much, you ate crappy food, you haven't worked out in 3 or 4 days, and then you hide and you get really down on yourself, like, oh my gosh, I was down 7 pounds, I gained 4, I just ruined everything. I thought I could do this, I can't. This is what happens. It always happens to me. Like, why can't I, not do this? I didn't need to drink that much. I didn't need to eat that much. And like, I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid. What's the point anymore? And you start to get really down on yourself. And when you're in that state of mind, you're not going to do what you need to do to be successful. So there's not a clear cut answer here, but my point of making this is to bring awareness to yourself and just find when you are really hard on yourself, you solve that by action, not inaction. And I do truly think like being hard on yourself, having a high standard, demanding excellence from yourself, growing as a person, getting better every single day. So many of you women in here have those character traits. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think that should be celebrated. And that's probably why you've had success in your career and family and in life overall. But it can be your biggest God-given blessing, but it also can be your curse as well. And it's how you use it. But like I would say is when you use it for good, you're like, yeah, I demand excellence. I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. I know I'm going to face challenges of adversity, but I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to communicate with my coach when things are going great, when they're going bad. I'm going to do this. And like you solve that by action. And that's how you double, triple, quadruple down on that positive character trait within you. But when you do the opposite and you're so hard on yourself, it leads to an action. That's when that character trait becomes bad. So my point of sharing this is recognize that there's nothing inherently wrong. I would say that's a blessing. It served me very well in my life when I use it for good. But at the same time, recognize when you're being so hard on yourself and you're getting down, you're hiding, and it's leading to inaction. That's when it becomes bad. So I think just important to distinguish between the two. One, let me tell you, that's not a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. Number one, to be wired like that, because I certainly am. And, Mirren, like that's the tens of women we work with that are kind of similar to to me, right? And then two, just recognize when it's leading to an action, because that's when it becomes more of a negative versus a positive. See you on the next one.